Okay, well, I have one more question for you guys. We're running really low on time, so this will be the last one. And it has to do with this issue of a binary, because we are talking in with the assumption that we only have two choices at the end of the day. I mean, we have, of course, the primaries, but when it comes to the general, we have two choices. Okay, does there come a point where we say, okay, I don't think anyone, probably no one of the four of us at least, has been thrilled with the options that we have been given in when it comes to the general. And I think that's the opinion of a lot of American people. A lot of us are sitting back thinking, oh my goodness, are we going to have Trump and Biden in 2024? How is this possible? Who is happy about that? Okay. When is it time to consider a third party? Now, as soon as you start talking third party, everyone says, well, you're just throwing your vote away. But I think we also need to acknowledge that we will only ever have these two options until some people decide to throw their votes away and invest in a third party. So I want to open the floor to you guys. When does the third party become a good option?
When it doesn't take votes away from your guy. Sorry. Sure, go run, Green Party.
It did happen in France. Macron was voted in with a brand new party. So,
yeah, well, the two-party system is not.
Great.
I mean, it's
Not
not
great.
shared by a lot of Western countries.
Andrew, I think one step that you've mentioned is, I think people miss this, but the primaries are where the candidates are really selected. And if you don't engage in the primaries, then you're missing out on the election, really. And I think most people are. I mean, if you look at the Republicans, I know, there are two of them that have dropped out for the presidential race, at least two recently, and if that field narrows, then that how people vote in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, and Tennessee, and all the primaries, that makes a huge difference. That's where you want to select your candidates. So don't. My advice was, definitely engage in the primaries. In Tennessee, we're a bright red state, so if you're not running in the Republican primary, you've really got an uphill battle in most situations, except for the municipalities. So, that's one thing I would do is really engage in the primaries. Now you've got with the No Labels group, playing in the presidential race now, and there's so much that.
I think we lost Herbert's feed.
I think he makes a really good point. I'll be fully transparent. I've never voted for a third party candidate. I've always picked somebody of the two. I do think that if you really don't like who's being put before you, get super engaged at the primary stage, which most people are not, let's be honest. And then they get stuck with who they're stuck with, and then they complain about it, and they want a third, right? I would be more, and right now, third-party candidates are mostly spoilers. They're not actual contenders, right? I mean, I think, is that a fair statement? They're spoilers more than actual
I think
contenders?
Historically it's a fair statement.
Okay,
I'm not so sure this year that couldn't change. Just
I think
because
that's
of our-
fair.
Yeah.
So what I would say in response to that is, if we're going to do a third-party deal, spend 4 years really establishing that party, making it a thing so it can actually be, don't just in the last year before the election be like, oh, by the way, we have this third candidate, and and I guess maybe there's enough momentum away from the selected candidate that you could swing that far, right? But you'd have to swing so far plus beat whatever the other person's getting, and our margins are so thin in America right now. That's definitely challenging. So, hey, listen, Lincoln was the first Republican. So parties that we now assume have been around forever weren't, and they emerged at important points in time to create shifts. And I don't think that those days are gone and that we're stuck with a two-party system and that's it, right? But
Well, I think to me it ultimately goes back to what Herbert's first point when he was making. We really need to seek God on this. I don't think we need to cast a vote just because we think this is the person that's going to win, therefore let's vote for them. I think we really need to seek God in that because, ultimately, at least for me personally, I'll say, God directs the hearts of kings. He holds them in his hand. And if we align ourselves with God, we're going to be on the winning side, even if we don't like the results of the election. These things have very difficult practical implications that we have to wrestle with, I think, Andrew. But I think prayer is the starting point for that, and praying for wisdom.
Well,
Amen.
we follow our conscience in so many other things, so follow your conscience, right? Like, talk to God about it and do as he leads.
Yes, having a clear conscience is something that Paul talks about a lot. It's absolutely something we should strive for as Christians.